They were last seen laughing by the pool in the golden light of a summer afternoon. 5 years later, a housekeeper opens an air vent in room 214, and what she finds reignites a case long buried in silence. What happened to the Harper sisters at the Briarwood Hotel remains one of the most haunting disappearances in the town's history. A small pink flip-flop lies forgotten beneath 5 years of dust in a hotel air vent. Next to it, a Polaroid photograph captures 2 terrified young girls huddled together in a dimly lit laundry room, a shadowy figure lurking at the frame's edge. On the back, 3 words in a child's shaky handwriting: "We were here." For 5 years, the Briarwood Hotel has tried to forget the summer evening when 2 sisters vanished from its outdoor pool without a trace. For 5 years, the truth remained hidden within its walls, until now. The mystery haunting room 214 is about to resurface, bringing questions some would kill to keep buried. What happened to Lila and Tessa Harper? Who took the photograph? And is someone still watching, making sure their secret stays hidden in plain sight? If you enjoy fictional mysteries like this one, hit subscribe and comment where you're watching from. Let's uncover the truth together. The Briarwood Hotel stands like a fading grande dame on the shores of Lake Monroe, its once prestigious facade now weathered by decades of neglect. Built in the Roaring '20s as a code playground for the wealthy, its grandeur has faded with time, leaving behind peeling paint and creaking floorboards that whisper of better days. For the Harper family, parents Daniel and Rebecca, 15-year-old Lila, and 10-year-old Tessa, the Briarwood is merely an overnight stop on their journey to a family reunion in Vermont. They pull into the gravel parking lot on July 17, 2003, their minivan dusty from miles of highway travel. Just one night, Daniel promises, eyeing the hotel's weathered exterior with mild concern. "We'll be back on the road first thing tomorrow." Rebecca checks her watch. "It's nearly 4. Let's get settled quickly so the girls can swim before dinner." The lobby retains hints of its former elegance: crystal chandeliers hanging from high ceilings, marble floors worn smooth by countless footsteps. At the reception desk, hotel manager Victor Branning greets them with the practiced smile of a man trying to maintain appearances despite dwindling occupancy. "Welcome to the Briarwood," he says, sliding registration forms across the polished counter. "We're delighted to have you with us." While their parents handle check-in formalities, Lila and Tessa stand by the lobby windows, gazing longingly at the outdoor pool. The water sparkles invitingly in the late afternoon sun, largely empty save for an elderly couple reading in lounge chairs. "Can we go swimming now?" Tessa bounces on her toes, already reaching for her bag. Her pink flip-flops slap against the marble floor. "As soon as we're checked in," Rebecca answers, signing the final form. 20 minutes later, the sisters race toward the pool, laughing as they drop their towels on adjacent lounge chairs. Lila, tall and slender with long brown hair tied back in a practical ponytail, keeps a watchful eye on her younger sister. Tessa, small for her age with a splash of freckles across her nose, cannonballs into the shallow end, her pink flip-flops discarded haphazardly by the pool's edge. From the lobby windows, Daniel watches his daughters with a contented smile before heading upstairs to unpack. Rebecca joins him shortly after, leaving the girls to their afternoon swim. Carl Lawson, the hotel's young lifeguard, sits in his elevated chair scanning the pool area. Besides the Harper sisters, only a few guests remain: an elderly couple now dozing over their paperbacks, a businessman pacing near the deep end while talking on his phone, and a young mother with a sleeping toddler in a stroller parked in the shade. At precisely 5:17 p.m., Carl's phone rings. He glances at the caller ID, frowns slightly, then steps away from his post. "I'll just be a minute," he calls to the pool area in general. "Stay out of the deep end until I'm back." Lila, floating on her back with Tessa holding onto her hands, nods in acknowledgement. When Carl returns 5 minutes later, the pool area is eerily silent. The elderly couple has gone. The businessman has disappeared. The young mother and her child are nowhere to be seen. Most alarmingly, there's no sign of Layla and Tessa. Towels lie abandoned on lounge chairs. The water's surface is unnaturally still. A single pink flip-flop Tessa's sits at the edge of the pool, its companion nowhere to be found. Carl's heart begins to race. He scans the area, calling the girls' names. When no one answers, he rushes to the lobby. "Mr. Branning," he gasps, finding the manager behind the front desk. "The Harper girls, they're gone." Within minutes, the hotel erupts into chaos. Staff members fan out, searching every corner of the sprawling building. Daniel and Rebecca rush back to the pool, their faces white with shock. "They were right there," Daniel tells the police when they arrive 20 minutes later. "I watched them from the lobby window, not 10 minutes before they disappeared." Rebecca clutches Tessa's remaining flip-flop, her hands trembling. "They wouldn't just leave. Lila is responsible. She would never take Tessa away without telling us." Police search the grounds, the lake's edge, and the surrounding forest. The hotel's security cameras yield no helpful footage. The camera covering the pool exit had been malfunctioning for weeks, showing only static. "Is there any way they could have left without being seen?" Detective Gregory Phillips asks, surveying the pool area. "Not really," Victor Branning replies, his forehead creased with concern. "There is only one entrance to the pool area, and it leads directly back into the main lobby. Someone would have seen them." Only one witness comes forward, Miranda Collins, an elderly woman who had been reading by the pool. "I saw the girls talking to someone just before I left," she tells investigators, her voice quavering slightly, "near the back wall of the pool area. A man in a hotel uniform, I think. They seem to know him." "Which staff member?" Detective Phillips presses. "Can you describe him?" Mrs. Collins shakes her head. "I wasn't paying close attention. It looked like a maintenance uniform, dark blue. I thought nothing of it at the time." Victor Branning assures police that all staff are accounted for and cooperating. Thomas Weller, the hotel's maintenance manager, leads officers through service areas and mechanical rooms, insisting no child could have wandered in unnoticed. "These doors are always locked," he explains, indicating access points to maintenance areas. "Only staff have keys and we keep careful track of them." Days turn into weeks. Lake Monroe is dragged, yielding nothing but old fishing gear and waterlogged branches. Search parties comb miles of surrounding forest. Missing persons flyers with Lila and Tessa's smiling faces appear in shop windows throughout the county. Local news coverage gradually gives way to national attention, but no credible leads emerge. The Harper family sets up a command center in their hotel room, refusing to leave until their daughters are found. Daniel paces the floor at night, replaying those final moments by the window when he saw his children alive and happy. Rebecca sits motionless for hours, staring at photographs, clutching Tessa's flip-flop like a talisman. As summer fades into fall, even the most dedicated searchers begin to lose hope. Police interviews with hotel staff reveal nothing suspicious. Background checks turn up no red flags. The investigation stalls, hampered by lack of evidence and conflicting witness statements. By November, the Harpers reluctantly return to their home in Pennsylvania, their lives forever altered. They leave behind a dedicated phone line at the local police station and the promise to return at a moment's notice if any news emerges. The Briarwood Hotel never recovers from the incident. Bookings plummet as rumors spread. Guests report uneasy feelings, strange noises, and some claim to hear splashing from the pool area after hours when no one is there. Within a year, Victor Branning sells the property to a hotel management company based in New York City and disappears from the area. Thomas Weller resigns shortly after the investigation concludes, citing stress and personal reasons. The new owners attempt to rebrand, renovating portions of the building and slashing room rates to attract guests. But the shadow of the Harper sisters lingers. Local children dare each other to sneak onto the property at night. Ghost stories spread through the town like wildfire. The pink flip-flop sealed in an evidence locker at the county police station becomes the only tangible reminder that Lila and Tessa Harper ever existed. The case grows cold, filed away with thousands of other unsolved disappearances across America, until 5 years later, when Maria Vasquez reaches into an air vent in room 214 and history begins to unravel. What do you think happened to the Harper sisters? Share your theories below. August 8, 2008 dawns hot and humid at the Briarwood Hotel. Maria Vasquez, 26 and newly hired as part of the housekeeping staff, arrives for her morning shift 15 minutes early. She's determined to prove herself worthy of the job, her first since moving to Lake Monroe from Queens 3 months ago. Rooms 210 through 215 today, her supervisor Donna tells her, handing over a master keycard. 214's been giving guests trouble with the air conditioning. Check the vent while you're in there. Maria nods, gathering her supplies. She's heard the whispers among staff about the Harper sisters who vanished 5 years ago, but she dismisses them as small-town superstition. Growing up in New York City taught her that real monsters wear business suits, not ghostly chains. She works efficiently through her assigned rooms, saving 214 for last. The moment she steps inside, she notices the difference. Despite the summer heat outside, the room feels oddly cold. The air smells faintly of chlorine, as if someone has just returned from a swim. Just finish quickly and move on, Donna had advised when Maria mentioned her assignment. That room's always been trouble. Maria starts with the bathroom, then moves methodically through the bedroom. As she dusts the desk by the window, she glances up at the air vent mounted high on the wall. The cover is slightly askew, explaining the uneven airflow guests have complained about. Dragging a chair beneath it, Maria climbs up and reaches for the vent cover. She expects to find dust buildup or perhaps a loose screw. Instead, her fingers brush against something soft tucked inside the narrow space beyond the cover. Curious, she works the object free. A pink flip-flop falls into her hands. Small, child-sized, its once bright color faded to a dusty rose. The rubber sole is worn thin in places, the plastic strap threatening to detach from years of disuse. Maria frowns, turning the item over in her hands. Something about it feels significant, though she can't immediately place why. Then memory stirs, the posters she's seen in local shop windows, the story Donna told during her orientation. 2 sisters who disappeared from the hotel pool, one leaving behind a single pink flip-flop. Her heart beginning to race, Maria reaches deeper into the vent. Her fingers touch something flat and stiff, paper or perhaps cardboard. Working carefully, she extracts what turns out to be a Polaroid photograph, its edges yellowed with age. The image strikes her like a physical blow. 2 girls, 1 teenager, 1 child, huddled together in what appears to be a basement laundry room. The older girl has her arm protectively around the younger one. Both look directly at the camera, their expressions a mixture of fear and defiance. A shadowy figure stands in the background, face obscured by poor lighting and the photograph's degraded quality. Turning it over with trembling fingers, Maria finds a message scrawled in childish handwriting, "We were here." She nearly falls from the chair in her haste to get down. Within minutes, she's in the manager's office, the flip-flop and photograph laid on his desk. "Call the police," she insists, her voice leaving no room for argument. These belong to those missing girls. By noon, the Briarwood Hotel is once again the center of unwanted attention. Police cars line the curved driveway. Crime scene tape blocks access to room 214. Detective Naomi Reed, newly assigned to the county's cold case unit, stands in the center of the room, examining the air vent. "No one's cleaned inside these ducts in years," she observes, shining her flashlight into the opening. "That flip-flop and photo have been there since at least 2003. In the hotel manager's office, Reed spreads out the original case files. She compares the recovered flip-flop with photographs taken the day of the disappearance. "It's a match," she confirms. "This belonged to Tessa Harper." The Polaroid proves even more significant. "This was taken after they disappeared," Reed tells her partner, Detective Marcus Chen. "Look at their clothes, different from what they were wearing at the pool, and the background is definitely somewhere inside this building." News of the discovery spreads rapidly. By evening, all major networks have crews stationed outside the hotel. Social media explodes with theories and speculation. The Harper parents, now divorced and living in separate states, returned to Lake Monroe within 24 hours, their faces lined with years of grief and renewed hope. This proves they were alive after they vanished from the pool, Rebecca Harper tells reporters, her voice breaking as she clutches the sealed evidence bag containing the photograph. "Someone took them. Someone kept them here in the hotel." Daniel Harper stands slightly apart from his ex-wife, his expression guarded but determined. "We never gave up hoping," he says quietly. "Now we have proof that there's more to this story. Someone knows what happened to our daughters." Detective Reed leads a new, intensive search of the Briarwood. Hotel blueprints from the county archives reveal a complex history. The building, constructed in 1926, has undergone numerous renovations. Walls have been moved, rooms reconfigured, entire sections repurposed. There are inconsistencies, Reed notes, comparing the blueprints to the actual layout. Spaces that should be accessible, but aren't. Areas that don't match the plans. A forensic team identifies the laundry room from the Polaroid. Located in the basement, it's now used for storage, its industrial washing machines long since removed. The room yields no further clues, no fingerprints, no DNA, no sign of what might have happened to the girls after the photograph was taken. The timestamp on the Polaroid is partially visible, the forensics technician explains. July 18, 2003, the day after they disappeared. Most puzzling is room 214's location, directly above the outdoor pool area with a window overlooking the spot where the girls were last seen. Hotel records show the room was vacant on the day of the disappearance. "Perfect vantage point," Reed observes, standing by the window. "Someone could have watched everything from here." The air vent becomes the focus of forensic attention. Tests reveal it connects not just to the standard ventilation system, but to a narrow maintenance shaft that runs between walls, a remnant from the original building design that should have been sealed during renovations in the 1970s, but somehow remained open. "These old hotels often have spaces between the walls," the building inspector explains. "Service corridors, access shafts, some barely wide enough for maintenance workers to squeeze through. Most get sealed up during modernization, but sometimes they're just forgotten." As night falls, Reed stands alone in room 214, trying to piece together the fragmented clues. Why would someone hide evidence of the girls' presence in the hotel? Why take a photograph at all? And most perplexing, if they were hidden here, where are they now? Reed examines the case file again, noting that during the original investigation, room 214 had been cursorily searched but not thoroughly examined. According to statements, Branning had insisted the room was under renovation with plumbing issues, making it impossible for anyone to hide there. The original detective had noted water damage on the ceiling, backing Branning's claim, and focused resources elsewhere. "He deliberately misdirected the investigation," Reed mutters. "But why preserve evidence that would implicate him?" If this story has kept you entertained, hit the like button and subscribe to our channel for more mysteries. Unraveling the past. The morning after the discovery, Detective Reed begins tracking down former Briarwood employees who worked at the hotel in 2003. Many have scattered across the country, but some remain in Lake Monroe, their lives still revolving around the small tourist town. Diane Rogers, who worked the front desk during that fateful summer, now manages a local bookstore. Her hands tremble slightly as she arranges cups of coffee for herself and Reed. "I think about those girls every day," she admits, sinking into an armchair in her small apartment above the shop. "Such a tragedy." "I need you to tell me everything you remember about that day," Reed says gently, "especially anything that seemed unusual at the time." Diane's forehead creases. "The strange thing was how quickly Mr. Branning took control," she recalls. "Before the police even arrived, he was directing staff, assigning search areas, telling us what to say, almost like he'd prepared for it." Prepared how? "He had a list, actual printed instructions about handling a crisis situation. Said he'd created it after a guest had a heart attack the previous winter, but it felt rehearsed somehow." Reed makes a note. "What about Thomas Weller?" "The maintenance manager?" Diane's expression clouds. "Tom was intense. Kept to himself mostly. He knew every inch of that hotel. Used to brag he could get from the basement to the roof without using stairs or elevators." "Were he and Branning close?" "Not friendly exactly, more like connected. They'd have these conversations that stopped the moment anyone else walked in." Reed's next interview takes her 3 states away to a small apartment complex in Ohio where Carl Lawson now works as a swimming instructor. The former lifeguard has aged more than his 30 years would suggest, with premature lines etched around his eyes. "I've been waiting for this call," he says when Reed introduces herself. "Ever since I heard about the flip-flop on the news." In his sparse living room, Carl confesses what he's kept hidden for 5 years. "That phone call, the one that pulled me away from the pool, it came from Branning," he admits, his voice barely above a whisper. "He asked me to check something in the staff room, said it would only take a minute." "Did that seem unusual to you?" "At the time, no. He was always finding reasons to pull me away from the pool when certain guests were swimming." Carl runs a hand through his thinning hair. "But looking back, it was the only time he ever called my personal cell phone instead of using the pool area phone." "Did you see anything when you returned to find the girls missing?" Carl hesitates, then reaches for a worn backpack beside his couch. From it, he extracts a wrinkled sheet of paper, a crude map of the pool area drawn in ballpoint pen. "I found this in my locker that evening," he explains. "It wasn't there when I changed before my shift. Someone slipped it in while I was at the pool." The drawing shows the pool layout with an X marked near the back wall. Scrawled at the bottom, "Say nothing. 5,000 in your account tomorrow, or else." "I was 19, drowning in student debt," Carl says, his voice breaking. "The money appeared exactly as promised. I told myself they must be okay, that it was some kind of elaborate prank or family dispute. By the time I realized how wrong I was already complicit." Reed follows the money trail next. Financial records reveal the Briarwood was struggling in 2003. Victor Branning had taken out massive loans to keep the hotel afloat, mortgaging everything he owned. More significantly, he'd increased the property's insurance coverage just 3 months before the disappearance. "A publicity stunt gone wrong," suggests Detective Chen when they review the findings. "Maybe Branning thought a mysterious disappearance would bring attention to the hotel, make it famous." Reed shakes her head. "That doesn't explain the Polaroid or the flip-flop. Why keep evidence that proves the girls were still in the building?" The most revealing interview comes from Robert Martinez, a former security guard who now runs a local hardware store. His face darkens when Reed mentions Thomas Weller. "Tom knew that building better than anyone," Martinez says, lowering his voice, though no other customers are in the store. "Every crawl space, every maintenance tunnel. The Briarwood was built during Prohibition. Rumor was it had secret passages for moving liquor." "Did he ever show them to you?" "Once, after a pipe burst in the east wing. We had to access a space between walls to reach the leak." Martinez sketches on a notepad as he speaks. "The hotel's built like a maze inside. Most people don't realize it was designed that way intentionally. During Prohibition, it was a known spot for bootleggers to store and move liquor. The original blueprints in the County Historical Society archives show the network of passages. They were just covered up during later renovations. Reed returns to room 214 with a new perspective. This time, she brings along a structural engineer who specializes in historical buildings. Together, they examine the room's dimensions, comparing them to the original blueprints. "This wall shouldn't be here," the engineer notes, tapping on the surface beside the window. According to the 1926 plans, this room was almost 3 feet wider. When technicians remove a section of baseboard, they discover something unexpected: a small, disguised access panel leading into a narrow passage between walls. Inside, using specialized equipment, they find strands of long brown hair caught on a protruding nail. DNA tests later confirm they belong to Lila Harper. "They were here," Reed tells the Harper parents the next day, "in this room or inside the walls, and someone wanted to make sure we knew it." Further examination of the Polaroid yields another clue. Digital enhancement reveals a partial reflection in a metal fixture behind the girls, the photographer's face, blurry but recognizable to former staff as Thomas Weller. "I knew it," whispers Rebecca Harper, studying the enhanced image. "I remember him watching the girls at the pool. I thought he was just doing his job, checking the equipment." Daniel Harper's reaction is more visceral. "If he hurt my daughters, we'll find him," Reed promises, "and we'll get answers." But Thomas Weller proves difficult to locate. After resigning from the Briarwood 2 weeks after the disappearance, he seemingly vanished. His last known address was vacated years ago. His Social Security number hasn't been used for employment, and no credit activity exists under his name. "It's like he disappeared himself," Chen comments, reviewing the sparse file. "Or someone helped him disappear," Reed counters. "Someone with resources and motivation." What do you think will happen next in our story? Share your theories below. As summer turns to fall, Detective Reed's investigation uncovers disturbing connections beneath the surface of the Harper sisters' disappearance. Victor Branning, the former hotel manager who sold the property and left town within a year of the incident, had more troubling secrets than financial difficulties. Melissa Grant, who served as the hotel's accountant from 1998 to 2004, agrees to meet Reed at a cafe in Albany, where she now works as a financial advisor. Victor was desperate by early 2003, she confirms, nervously stirring her untouched coffee. The hotel was failing, and he owed dangerous people a lot of money. "What kind of dangerous people?" Reed asks. Melissa lowers her voice. "He got involved with loan sharks from New York City, the kind who don't just repossess your car if you can't pay, they take everything." She slides a thin folder across the table. "I kept copies of some transactions I couldn't explain, cash deposits that didn't match our occupancy rates, withdrawals that never appeared in official expenses." The documents reveal a pattern of money laundering through the hotel's accounts, small amounts at first, growing larger as Branning's legitimate business faltered. "I confronted him once," Melissa continues. "He said it was investment capital from business associates. Told me to mind my own business if I wanted to keep my job." Reed's next discovery is even more troubling. Before managing the Briarwood, Thomas Weller worked for a construction company with multiple violations for unsafe practices and fraud. His expertise wasn't just in maintenance, he specialized in structural modifications and renovations. The perfect skill set for creating hidden spaces within an existing building, Reed notes to Chen as they review Weller's employment history. Most damning is what happened after the disappearance. Branning sold the hotel 6 months later for twice its market value, enough to clear his debts and relocate to South America. Banking records show a significant wire transfer to an offshore account the day after the sale closed. This doesn't make sense, Chen argues during a late-night strategy session. Why would anyone pay double for a failing hotel with a terrible reputation after the disappearance? Reed examines property records more closely. The buyer wasn't interested in the hotel business, she realizes. It was a land development corporation. They wanted the prime lakefront property for future condominiums. The hotel was irrelevant. They were planning to demolish it eventually anyway. Weller's movements prove harder to track. He resigned suddenly 2 weeks after the Harper sisters vanished, emptied his modest bank account, and disappeared. His abandoned car was found at a bus station 50 miles away, wiped clean of fingerprints. Armed with this new information and a search warrant, Reed brings in a team with ground-penetrating radar to examine the hotel more thoroughly. The technology reveals anomalies throughout the building, spaces between walls, areas beneath flooring that don't match any blueprint, and a network of narrow passages connecting key areas of the hotel. These weren't random hiding places, Reed explains to her superiors. This was an infrastructure designed for concealment. The most significant discovery comes in the basement. Behind a false wall in the laundry room, the same room visible in the Polaroid, investigators find a small chamber not on any blueprint. The space, roughly 8 feet square, contains a rusted cot frame bolted to the floor, empty food containers dating back to 2003, and most significantly, a tarnished silver bracelet engraved with Tessa. They were kept here, Reed concludes, carefully bagging the bracelet as evidence, at least for a short time. When shown photographs of the hidden room, former kitchen staff remember unusual food orders during that period. Extra meals for maintenance workers, recalls the head chef, now running a restaurant in a neighboring town. Branning insisted we prepare them, said they were working overtime on repairs. The theory takes shape. Branning, desperate for money, orchestrated the sisters' disappearance as part of a complex scheme. The questions remaining are why and what happened afterward. Insurance fraud doesn't make sense, Chen argues during a late-night strategy session. Kidnapping doesn't trigger business insurance payouts. No, Reed agrees, but a mysterious disappearance creates publicity. The Briarwood was suddenly famous. Every newspaper in the country ran the story. Dark tourism, Chen realizes. People fascinated by the mystery would come to stay at the hotel where the Harper girls vanished. Except it backfired. Instead of attracting guests, it drove them away. No one wanted to stay in a hotel where children disappeared. Reed pins a timeline to the investigation board, marking key events. July 17, 2003, sisters disappear from pool. July 18, 2003, date on Polaroid found in air vent. July 20, 2003, last search of hotel interior by police. August 1, 2003, Thomas Weller begins taking sick days. August 14, 2003. Weller resigns January 2004. Branning sells. Hotel February 2004. Branning leaves country. Something changed between the initial plan and Weller's resignation, Reed observes. Something went wrong. The breakthrough comes from an unexpected source. A former night clerk contacts Reed after seeing news of the discovery on television. Now living in Florida, Alan Deeks had worked the overnight shift during the summer of 2003. There was a night, about 2 weeks after those girls disappeared, when I heard voices from Branning's office, he explains via video call. It was around 3 a.m. I shouldn't have been listening, but what did you hear? Reed presses. Branning was furious, kept saying, this wasn't the plan, and you were supposed to release them by now. The other voice, I'm pretty sure it was Weller, said something about complications and demands. Deeks hesitates. Then Branning said something that always stuck with me. If anything happens to those girls, it's on you. I wanted publicity, not a murder charge. With this testimony, Reed secures international cooperation to locate Victor Branning. Authorities track him to a coastal town in Argentina, where he's been living under an assumed name. Before they can arrest him, he disappears again, tipped off by someone with access to the investigation. Meanwhile, forensic analysis of the hidden room yields more evidence. Beneath layers of dust, technicians discover tiny blood droplets on the cot frame. DNA testing confirms they belong to Lila Harper. The blood pattern suggests a minor injury, the lab technician explains, consistent with a cut or scrape, not a fatal wound. During the search of the hidden spaces, an officer makes another significant discovery, a small journal wedged into a crack in the wall of the service passage connecting room 214 to the basement. The notebook is water-damaged but partially legible, its pages filled with Lila Harper's handwriting. Unlike a typical teenage diary, this appears to have been created during their captivity. Written on hotel stationery, Lila must have gathered from nearby rooms through the passageways. She was documenting what happened to them, Reed realizes, carefully turning the fragile pages, creating a record in case they didn't survive. If you're captivated by mysteries like this one, be sure to hit subscribe and leave us a comment below telling us where you're watching from. 5 months into the renewed investigation, Thomas Weller's body is discovered in a budget motel room in Nevada. The medical examiner rules it suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The motel manager reports he checked in under a false name 3 days earlier, paid cash, and asked not to be disturbed. Beside the body, detectives find a handwritten note. "I never meant for them to get hurt. It was supposed to be easy money." Reed flies out to examine the scene personally. In Weller's suitcase, she finds a prepaid phone containing only 2 contacts, one labeled VB and another simply X. He was in contact with Branning, she tells Chen over a secure line, and someone else we haven't identified yet. Back at the Briarwood, the search intensifies. Reed has become convinced that Lila's hidden journal contains the key to understanding what happened. Forensic document specialists work to recover the water-damaged text, revealing entries that tell a chilling story. July 17th. Something weird happened at the pool today. The maintenance guy, Mr. W., told us there was a problem with the drain, and we needed to come see. When we followed him through a door in the back wall, everything went dark. I think someone put something over our faces. When I woke up, we were in a small room with no windows. Tessa is scared but trying to be brave. I told her Mom and Dad will find us soon. July 18th. Mr. W. brings us food and lets us use a bathroom down the hall. He took our picture with a weird old camera, said his boss wants proof we're okay. I don't understand what's happening. When I asked why we're here, he just said, business, and that we'll go home soon if we behave. I'm trying to memorize the way through the passages when he takes us to the bathroom. I think we're still in the hotel, but in some kind of hidden area between walls. July 19th. They're moving us tonight. Mr. W. seems nervous, says his boss is angry about something. I heard them arguing. The other man's voice sounds familiar. If anyone finds this, we were here. Room 214. Look for the tunnels behind the pool equipment room. That's where they're taking us. The final entry ends abruptly, the pen stroke trailing off the page as if Lila had been interrupted while writing. Reed organizes an immediate search of the area behind the pool equipment room. Removing a section of tile wall reveals a sealed tunnel entrance. When opened, it leads to an underground passage that extends beyond the hotel property, emerging a quarter-mile away in an abandoned boathouse on Lake Monroe's shore. They took them out this way, Reed concludes, examining the tunnel with her flashlight, away from the search perimeter, away from the cameras. Historical research confirms Reed's theory. The tunnel was part of the original property, used during Prohibition to smuggle alcohol from boats on the lake directly into the hotel. Though marked on the oldest blueprints, it had been officially sealed during renovations in the 1960s. In reality, Weller had maintained access, likely using it for years to move through the property undetected. Phone records show a call from the boathouse landline to a burner phone the night of July 19th. The same phone received a call from Branning's private line the following day, then was never used again. As investigators close in on what they believe is the truth, another witness comes forward. Kyle Bennett, a former groundskeeper at the Briarwood, approaches Reed after a news conference. "I've been carrying this for 5 years," he says, his weathered face lined with guilt. "The night those girls disappeared, I saw Weller loading something heavy into the trunk of his car. It was wrapped in plastic sheeting." "What time was this?" Reed asks, heart pounding. "Around midnight. I was finishing up late landscaping work near the staff parking area." Bennett swallows hard. "I thought it was maintenance equipment. Now I wonder." Reed organizes a new search of Lake Monroe, focusing on areas near the boathouse. Divers spend days combing the murky depths. Simultaneously, investigators begin examining properties connected to Branning and Weller, looking for any location where 2 kidnapped girls might have been held. The investigation takes an unexpected turn when a storage unit rented under Weller's name is discovered in a neighboring county. Inside, police find maintenance uniforms, hotel master keys, and a locked metal box containing Polaroid photographs. Dozens of them, showing different areas of the Briarwood, including many shots of the pool area taken from room 214's window. Most disturbing are 3 photographs of the Harper sisters, one in the basement room already discovered, one showing them in what appears to be the back of a van, and a third showing only their empty shoes arranged neatly on a wooden dock. On the back of this last image is written, "Problem solved." Reed brings these photographs to the Harper parents, watching their faces crumple with renewed grief. Does this mean they're... Rebecca can't finish the question. "We don't know yet," Reed answers honestly, "but we're closing in on the truth." Daniel stares at the photographs, his expression hardening. "I want to know everything, no matter how painful." Forensic analysis of the empty shoes photograph yields a crucial detail. The image was taken at night, but the shoes appeared dry despite being photographed near water. This was staged, the forensic analyst explains. The shoes were placed there, but that doesn't mean the girls were harmed. Further examination of Weller's storage unit reveals bus tickets to Canada dated July 20th, 2003, enough for 3 passengers. A crumpled receipt shows purchases of women's clothing, food, and toiletries from a convenience store near the Canadian border. He was helping them escape, Reed theorizes. The plan changed from publicity stunt to actual kidnapping to something else entirely. What do you think happened to the Harper sisters? Hit like if you have a theory and comment below. 10 years after the disappearance, with Victor Branning still at large and the Harper sisters' fate unresolved, the Briarwood Hotel faces demolition. Years of declining occupancy and mounting maintenance issues have rendered the once grand property unsalvageable. A modern resort complex is planned for the site, glass and steel replacing weathered wood and fading memories. The night before demolition is set to begin, Maria Vasquez, now manager of housekeeping for a luxury hotel in Manhattan, returns to the Briarwood. Though she's built a successful career since her discovery 5 years ago, the mystery has never left her. "I needed to see it one last time," she explains to Detective Reed, who has agreed to meet her there. "For closure, I guess." Together they stand in room 214, now stripped of furniture, its walls marked with demolition guidelines. Through the window, the empty pool reflects moonlight, its blue surface cracked and neglected. "Sometimes I wonder if we'll ever know the whole truth," Reed says softly. She's followed every lead, interviewed hundreds of witnesses, and yet crucial pieces remain missing. Maria doesn't answer immediately. She moves to the window, gazing down at the pool where 2 young girls once laughed and played. "It's cold in here," she remarks suddenly, rubbing her arms despite the August heat outside. Reed nods. The room has always been colder than the rest of the hotel, an anomaly engineers attributed to quirks in the building's aging ventilation system. As Maria stands by the window, she gasps softly. In the reflection of the glass, for just a moment, she glimpses two young women standing behind her, one tall and protective, the other small and wide-eyed. When she turns, the room is empty save for Reed examining the wall where the air vent once was. "Did you see that?" Maria whispers. Reed shakes her head. "See what?" Maria chooses not to explain. Some experiences defy rational explanation, like the faint scent of chlorine that suddenly permeates the room, though the pool hasn't been filled in years. The following week, a memorial service marks the 10th anniversary of the Harper sisters' disappearance. Daniel and Rebecca Harper, though long divorced, stand side by side beneath a maple tree in the town's Central Park. Around them gather investigators, volunteers who joined the search parties, and community members who never forgot the tragedy that shook their town. "We may never know exactly what happened," Daniel tells the assembled mourners, his voice steady despite the emotion visible on his face. "But we know our daughters were brave. They left us clues. They fought to be remembered." Rebecca places 2 roses at the base of a small stone marker. "Somewhere, somehow, I believe they're at peace," she says. "And I hope they know we never stopped looking." Detective Reed, watching from a respectful distance, knows she'll never truly close this case. Though officially she's been reassigned, her personal files on the Harper sisters fill a cabinet in her home office. She continues to follow leads on Victor Branning's whereabouts, convinced he holds the key to the mystery. "I believe he's still out there," she tells a journalist writing a 10-year retrospective. "And he knows what happened to those girls." The pink flip-flop, the Polaroid, and Lila's journal remain in evidence storage at the county police headquarters. These silent witnesses to tragedy have yielded all they can, yet somehow don't tell the complete story. 3 months after the demolition of the Briarwood Hotel, Reed receives a curious phone call from a diner owner in Arizona. "I saw your name in that magazine article about the missing girls," the woman explains. "Something happened here that might interest you." A waitress at the diner reported serving 2 women who reminded her of aged-up versions of the Harper sisters. The older one was protective, kept watching the door. The younger one seemed nervous. When I mentioned seeing a news story about New York, they paid quickly and left. Surveillance footage shows 2 women in their 20s, one tall with long brown hair, the other petite with a splash of freckles across her nose. Both wear baseball caps, pulled low, their faces never clearly visible to the camera. By the time Reed arrives to investigate, the trail has gone cold. 6 months later, an envelope arrives at Daniel Harper's home. Inside is a torn page from a hotel stationery pad with 3 words written in familiar handwriting: "We are safe." No return address, no fingerprints, no way to trace its origin. When shown the note, Reed confirms it appears to match Lila's handwriting from her recovered journal. The new luxury resort built on the Briarwood site opens to great fanfare, its modern amenities and spectacular lake views quickly making it a destination for wealthy vacationers. Yet even here, strange phenomena begin to emerge. The sound of splashing from the pool area after hours, phantom footsteps in upper-floor corridors, and most commonly, the feeling of being watched from empty rooms. Night security guards avoid the pool area after dark. One, recording his rounds on his phone, captures what appears to be 2 reflections in the water when the pool is empty, figures that vanish when he turns to look. As for the space that once contained room 214, now part of a premium suite on the resort's 2nd floor, guests report the air conditioning never works properly. Cold spots appear inexplicably. And sometimes, if you listen carefully in the quiet hours before dawn, you might hear a young voice whisper, "We were here." 6 years after Weller's suicide, Victor Branning is finally located in a remote fishing village in Chile. Before authorities can apprehend him, he suffers a massive heart attack and dies en route to the hospital. Among his personal effects, investigators find a sealed envelope addressed to Detective Reed containing a handwritten confession. It was supposed to be simple, a disappearance that would bring attention to the failing hotel, followed by a miraculous escape 3 days later. The girls would be returned unharmed, the hotel would become famous, and bookings would soar. But Weller became attached to them, especially the older one. He convinced himself they needed saving from their parents. When I realized he wasn't going to release them as planned, I threatened to turn him in. He blackmailed me in return, said he'd claim I masterminded everything. The last I knew, he was taking them to Canada. I paid him to disappear and never contact me again. I don't know if they're alive or dead, but I've lived with this guilt every day. If they survived, it wasn't because of any mercy on my part. I just wanted to save myself. Reed shares this confession with the Harpers, offering what closure she can. Based on all the evidence, she tells them, I believe Weller helped your daughters escape. Whether that was his plan all along or something that developed later, I can't say. But the bus tickets, the clothing purchases, and now Branning's confession all point to them leaving the country alive. Do you think they're still out there? Rebecca asks, hope and fear mingling in her voice. Reed considers her answer carefully. The evidence suggests they survived the initial ordeal. The Arizona sighting and the note you received indicate they may still be alive. But they're adults now, with their own reasons for staying hidden. Daniel nods slowly. If they're safe, if they've built lives somewhere, maybe that's enough. In the end, the mystery of the Harper sisters remains partly unsolved, a story without a definitive ending. Were they victims who perished, leaving only ghostly echoes behind? Or survivors who chose to vanish completely, rather than return to lives irrevocably altered by trauma? The evidence points in multiple directions, leaving room for hope alongside grief. For Detective Reed, the case exemplifies the complex nature of truth, sometimes partial, sometimes contradictory, rarely offering the clean resolution we crave. For the Harper parents, it offers the possibility, however slim, that somewhere their daughters live on. For Maria Vasquez, who first discovered the evidence hidden in an air vent, it remains a reminder that some secrets refuse to stay buried, emerging when least expected to challenge our understanding of what we thought we knew. And for the small town of Lake Monroe, the Harper sisters have become legend, a mystery that continues to draw curious visitors who stand at the edge of the gleaming new resort pool, looking for reflections that shouldn't be there, listening for voices that whisper across time. We were here. Did they survive? Were they victims of a plan gone terribly wrong? Or do their spirits still wander the grounds where they were last seen alive, waiting for someone to finally uncover the complete truth? What do you think happened to Lila and Tessa? Did they survive? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.